Good evening, everybody.
Good evening on this Monday of Let's Unwind with the Evans. I'm your host, Jessica.
And I am her co-host, Thomas.
And together we actually are bringing on a special guest. He goes by the name of Apostle Roderick Jeanneret. He will be joining us shortly, but right now we wanted to give a tribute because our topic tonight is surviving the death of a spouse, and he's going to go into his story and kind of impart into you guys a lot about relationships and marriages. So you all are in for a treat.
Oh my God.
So right now, what we have playing in the background is Prophetess Yolanda Jeanneret, Please Take Control of Me. It's available, her song is available on all streaming.
All the outlets.
Yeah, on all streaming outlets. You have YouTube, you have Apple Music, Spotify, all of the above. So if you want to go ahead and support, please support and go ahead and download her song. It's so powerful. So we're going to let it play as you're joining. Tag and share, tag and share. Right now.
Tiaisha, hey there.
Hi, Tiaisha. Hey, sis. I have to text you after this. Take control of me right now. So you guys, as you're joining in again, just tag and share. Let us know that you're here. Say hello. Say what city and state you're coming in from. Those vocals, man, y'all don't know for real. Y'all don't even have. Y'all don't even know.
I was thinking about that earlier. I was saying to myself, wow, they don't even worship her. They don't even understand what that is.
She was a worshiper at heart. Man. Just a complete atmosphere. Forget you're in church. Anything that you're dealing with in your personal life, it's like she has a way of going into all of those hidden dark places and just providing the peace from God. I mean, just all of that.
Come on, peace. That one was hardcore.
I'm talking about her vocals, baby. She's
Okay.
She's talking about the counseling perspective. She was hard on them. But we're going to get into that, y'all. We're going to tell you our whole story. They were twins, for real. Gills and Forests. anointed voice, anointed soul. So for those who are just tuning in, that was Prophetess Yolanda Jenneret.
Yes.
Her song, her single, Please Take Control of Me, available on all streaming devices. So right now, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and punch in our special guest.
Let us share with you guys who it is and why we have him on the air. It is Apostle Roderick Jenneret. The song that you just heard was his wife, Yolanda Jenneret.
Mm-hmm.
She also was known for a lot of people as Yogi.
Yes.
But as you guys have followed us for the past year, you've heard the counsel that we give. You hear the advice that we share about relationships and things like that. Let me be the first to share with you guys that the information we share with you came from none other than this man right here, Apostle Roderick Jenneret. Apostle Roderick, how you doing there, sir?
I'm good, and you? Can you guys hear me clearly?
You're a little low, just a little low. Can you turn your mic up a little bit?
Can you hear me? Is that better?
A little louder.
Hold on. All right, let me see.
Just talk like you see. Okay, let me explain to y'all what he's doing. He's trying to be formal right now. Is what he's doing. He just, instead of just talking like he normally talks. See that's what that is. He's trying to be formal. So he's gonna try to come on here all slick.
I just want to know, did you guys really hear me? Can y'all hear me? Because I got these headphones on.
You're kind of low. You're breaking in and out. So I'm not sure if it's the headphone mic.
Okay, y'all hold 1 second.
Okay.
It's the headphone. It's the headphone mic. I'm trying to tell you.
It's the headphone.
1 second. Let me turn them off. Hold on. All right. Can y'all hear me now? Is that better?
Yes. Yeah. That's perfect.
The headphone mic. We gotta figure that out.
See, I knew you was trying to be formal.
How are you guys? Huh?
I knew you was trying to be formal. I knew it. I say, see, he's trying to be formal, y'all.
We are down to earth as it gets. The problem is sometimes we're too down to earth, you know? But we work. Y'all know how people do, especially the States. They get to tripping. But anyway, it's my pleasure to be here tonight. I'm just grateful to share with you guys tonight. I'm so honored and to talk about, I'm Apostle Roderick Jenneret, and I sit under Apostle Melvin Thompson in the All Nations Apostolic Network, while yet I'm building my own network with his blessing, the Next Generation Apostolic Network. So we're grateful. We're excited. I just love Apostle Thomas and Lady Jessica. They're just such real people. They're honest. And sometimes, they say sometimes the student has to help the teacher. Don't get it twisted. I might have taught them, but they get up on me. So
listen, this one here.
Oh, yeah,
she was.
That's good. Y'all better watch it now. That Lady J. I guess she's stepping in the zone of the original Lady J, the first Lady J. Let me say that.
Yes, the first Lady J. Yes.
We're gonna call her LJ2. That's her new name, LJ2.
Yeah.
Lady J. And trust me, she's a clone of one, but just a little louder,
Just a little bit. Yeah. Yolanda was softer. She had that soft voice. It was powerful.
It was softer, but more laid back. Now, when that train it took her a minute to get started, but when she began,
listen, that's why I said earlier, I'm like, that one was hardcore. People no idea.
Apostle Tommy, thank you. Say it again. People think I'm softer than she was. I'm louder first. But when that train, man, listen, you heard?
Listen.
Yeah.
But what's amazing though is, my wife and I both owe so much to you and your, to Yolanda because, what you guys don't know in Facebook land is, they literally took of themselves. They took, part of their time, they took part of their life to really help us through a very turbulent time in both of our lives to be able to really not only naturally, mentally, emotionally, but
Yeah.
also spiritually covering us to make sure that we can get to the place where we are now and be healed from
Yeah.
every broken area in our lives and be able to minister like we do now. It's because of this man and his wife.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
We couldn't do it
for lack of a
without.
greater term, they dogged us out.
Yes. And but they put us back together. They really did. They were not a person of time. Time wasn't a big deal for them. They're like, look, y'all got to get this work, and I appreciated it because we would not be here now.
Listen, we
Happy
would
not.
leave work at about 5 o'clock in the evening, and we would go to their house. We would go grab something to eat, get to their house.
Yep.
And on
Around
some
7:30.
on some nights, we wouldn't even leave their house till almost 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Yep. And have to wake up the next day.
And go back to work. And in some cases, they would call us on impromptu. Okay, we need to meet with y'all right now. Wait.
Yep.
And remember when we first started, that was the accountability that I had. Remember, I had with you guys where you could call me at any time you wanted to because I wanted to be accountable to make sure that whenever you call, whenever you text, I would be right there and it wouldn't be no discussion.
Yes.
And those are things that a lot of people naturally didn't know anything about, but that's what really started the whole counseling and accountability aspect for us. So from that, just kind of as we touch on that, tell us where for you did that come from? Because, in the church, we believe that, if you just pray about a thing, if you just give a thing to God,
come on.
That. And we know that that's not the truth. We know it's much deeper than that. Not that God cannot do what he has to do.
Right.
But oftentimes there's so many more layers or so much more that's involved in that. When did you realize that? And when did you feel like, hey, you know what? I've got to dig deeper because I got to get it first. And then I've got to be able to share this with other people.
It was actually the summer of 1993. I couldn't tell you exact month, around July, August sometime. I was prophesied to by a man of the name of Apostle Moses Townsend III. And he called me out and he said, you're going to do great work in the kingdom. And he also said to me, but you need to get some books and you need to start reading. So, of course, he said, get some Hagin. So I got into, Kenneth Hagin, and I started reading some of his stuff. But along the way, I began to get books on relationship. And so I began to read about relationships and begin to study about relationships. I remember when I went to college, Apostle Tommy, Lady J, I went for business administration because I was not going to be a blue collar. Y'all ain't going to say amen, right?
Listen.
And then what I found out while I was reading and learning, it became more psychological to me. Start working on the psyche, the mind. So when I started reading and learning, before we got into marital or significant other type of relationship, it was just learning to stay in relationship and in covenant with people. Because can't nobody send you on a flight like people. Come on, say amen. Be it a best friend, be it a mom, be it a dad, be it a sister, a brother, So I now that I'm mature, I realize I never did like the spirit of rejection. So I didn't realize that I was fighting rejection in a sense. So no matter who I fell out with, I always wanted to fix it. I always wanted to make it work right. I always wanted to, get together. So that's how I initially began trying to repair relationships, start working on it with my own friends, with my own people. But then I opened up ministry in 1998. And here, Apostle Tommy, is where God, when I look back now, I was having some issues in marriage, and I wanted to figure out how to make it work. Because I'm quite sure, and this is being transparent, I'm quite sure she wanted to choke me, and I wanted to throw her out a window. Hallelujah.
Come on, be real. Be real.
Friday nights, we would go to the Shoney's on Sugar Creek, get the back room. And so married couples, we're only for married couples. And so we would eat and we would begin to discuss issues. And because I had studied on relationship repair, I was able to add nuggets. I was able to do things. I was able to share. And so that's where it began. And when I look back, out of all the ministries, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Now, of course, on big celebrations, people came. But when I really look back, and we talking about 98, how far back is that? One of y'all do the math for me.
About 22, 23 years.
Yeah.
23 years.
When I look back over it, no matter what we did, that's where I always excelled. I always excelled. I mean, people would just hear us having a discussion outside of the private room, and they would want to know, can we bring our food in? We just want to listen. Yeah. They'll bring their food, come in the room with us. We'll be talking about relationship repair. They'll be throwing out different questions, and I would be responding. And that really was like the highlight of our ministry. You know, Ashton's good, but that was really the highlight of our ministry. So,
wow.
To the Apostle Tommy, trying to make and hold on to a marriage, you know, and make things work, because I hated to lose. And I didn't like rejection. So that's how I got into it 20 years ago. 22 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's big. That's big. And so during this time, of course, you and Yolanda began your relationship.
Now, I'm going to tell you how that went down.
Okay.
Yolanda, I saw Yolanda for the first time twice, 14. I saw Yolanda, yeah, it was that 10 at it. I'm talking to my assistant. He's making something. Yolanda and I, I actually met Yolanda in 1993. How ironic. Same summer I started studying, right?
Wow.
Right. I met her more so. I started in the summer. I met her in the winter. But I was so afraid of her. She was so gorgeous, and I was so afraid to say something to her. And most people don't believe that about me. You know, I liked her, and I didn't want to mess that up. So I didn't say anything to her. So the Lord brought us back around each other again. I got married with a different path. She got married with a different path. And of course, my marriage failed. And her marriage took a rough path. So I began to counsel her. You know, later on in life, our paths crossed. I began to counsel her. I began to share with her. Watch this. All hours of the night. going. We were to Skyland. That's where I hang out was with y'all. Skyland.
Yeah, Skyland.
And I'm talking, meeting her at the Target parking lot, talking about, you know, different issues, you know. And so that's how we became really close. And when it folded, you know, I had to be biased on counsel. But when it folded, I was like, listen, I like you, you know. So we begin to go, and I begin to share with her, and she asked me how did I get into it. Same thing you asked me, Apostle Tommy, Lady J. And I began to share with her my passion for making things work. And I'll never, ever, ever forget what that baby said to me. She said to me, I just want to know one thing. And I said, what's that? She said, how do you make marriages and relationships work that stick?
Wow.
And it made me get deep. And I said, you know, I had to do internal research, you know, introspective look within. And I came out with both parties have to be willing to work. Both parties have to be willing to fight. Now, watch what I said. Here it is. I said, fight. You have to learn how to fight together and not each other.
Come on.
Every relationship is gonna have some arguments. You're gonna have fights. You're gonna have disagreements. The thing is, how do we fight together? In other words, I'm not talking about we jumping somebody, but you have an issue, I have an issue. We're arguing, but how do we bring our issues to the table and remain in relationship? That's how we got into that. And so just throw this nugget out there, and Apostle Thomas, you can lead whichever way you want to go. So one of the first things we learned, everybody that's in a relationship, that you're going to have arguments, you're going to have disagreements. When you fight each other, you jab at each other. You know, it's you. It's your fault. You know, you're just like your mother. You're just like your good daddy. You know,
Remember that.
Jab. That's fighting against each other.
Go for the juggler.
Together is, look, I have an issue. I want you to understand. I'm just trying to get you to understand me. I'm not attacking you, sweetheart. I'm just telling you my position, and I'm talking from a passionate place. And then she would say, right. A lot of
Vulnerability, though. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable enough to share that.
Hey, listen, y'all heard Pastor Jess, right? Two things. You have to be vulnerable and you have to take the risk. It's called vulnerability and risk. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be transparent. And most of us don't take the risk because we feel our significant other is not going to love us anymore, or, they're going to throw it in our face later on. You ever had that? Yeah. So we're afraid to be vulnerable. We're afraid to take the risk, but you have to be able to share, and you have to want to share the vulnerability. You have to take that risk. And
that's it. You have to want to.
Right.
You have to want to. And that means you trust. That means you trust when you want to. If you don't want to, that means you don't trust. There's something about the trust factor that's broken for some reason.
Here's the thing, Apostle Tommy. I'm so glad you brought that. Some people don't feel that their mate may be a safe place to open up. So that's where the trust is going to be a struggle. But you don't go in it trusting your mate. You go in it trusting the maker. Hello?
Come on.
You go in trusting the maker. God, I'm going to do what your word says, because it says speak the truth to your neighbor. But then the other side says, ye who are spiritual. Here's what we miss it, Apostle Tommy. Go restore such an one in the spirit of meekness. If Yolanda is going to repair me in any damaged area of my life, she would have had to be gentle and meek. If I was going to repair her or I don't use the term repair because we have to repair ourselves, but if I was going to assist her in being repaired, I would have to be gentle and meek. I can't blast her. How you going to blast a person, but you expect them to be transparent? If you blast a person, you expect them to be, it's impossible. You understand? Y'all ready for this? The wrath of man does not produce the plan of God.
Really? That's how we're going to do it.
The wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. If you yelling and screaming at me, it's already rough for me to get it out. It's already tough for me to express myself. Now you yelling and screaming, then one of the silent killers of relationship is Stonewall. If you yell and scream at me, I'm locking it up and I'm not talking.
Yeah. Or for the one who just suppresses everything and won't even bring things to the table, or always has the mentality of exiting, like you're
right. That's what I was going to say, Jessica. I'm so glad you said that, because the first thing we came up with is you have to remove all exits. I don't care how bad it gets, I'm not leaving. You have to make a conscious choice to remove the exit. In America today, in our culture today, it's so easy to pack up and leave. The husband works, he got a job, he'll leave. The wife works, she got a job, she'll leave. Back in the day, marriage lasts because the wife was at home. She had nowhere to go. You understand? But today, they go to work and make that money. Y'all ain't going to talk back to me.
You said that's the difference, huh?
Yeah, the day the baby's working, they bring.
Let me share this real quick.
Go ahead.
Let me share this real quick, because one of the things, and we have to go back to ourselves with starting the counseling.
Yeah.
One of the things that, when it was all said and done, that we both really embraced, enjoyed, and loved was the fact that
blessings, Adrian.
You just keep it real. Yeah. You always had a way of showing balance, and you and Yolanda both, because she was kind of apprehensive about coming in to the whole counseling, as you remember, because she felt like you would have an agenda or that you would have a side, and you really had a way of just being partial to everybody and what their viewpoint were. Because, and for those of you that don't, for us, I mean, he came in, she had baggage, I had baggage, there was outside baggage. I had a whole nother family, there was baggage. He was trying to deal with all of it.
So much, you guys.
And didn't run from any of it. It was like, look, I want to deal with your whole family. I was just like, this dude is a trip. But that's something, that's definitely a gift from God, because everybody doesn't have that. what makes you that way? What is it that has allowed you, obviously 23 years of researching and
Yes.
going through the, what has allowed you to be able to just keep a balance
You want to laugh? Go ahead, sir.
and not just want to hang up on somebody?
No, you want to laugh?
Yes.
I used the biblical model when Jesus was praying and he was talking to the Father. I think it's John 17 or 16, one of the two, where he says, Father, I have kept all that you have given me and lost none except the son of perdition. So my goal was never to lose none. Oh, I'm teaching good Bible here. Yeah, my goal was never to lose none. Anyone left was because they weren't, like Judas betrayed Jesus. That's the only disciple he ever lost. So my goal and my motto is whatever God puts me over to counsel or to coach or to minister to, I don't want to lose it.
Come on.
That's so good, man.
That is so good.
That is so powerful because again, we
Hey,
have
Mom.
you to thank about this definitely. But I want to shift gears real quick because this is the Yogi edition.
Yes.
And again, Yogi, y'all, is the nickname of his deceased wife,
Yes.
Yolanda Jenneret, who
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty.
she was one of the most, really anointed. We were kind of talking about when her song was playing earlier, how much of a worshiper she was.
Yes.
What a lot of people, some people know, some others don't, but she actually was one of the lead singers with John P. Key and the New Life Community Choir. I mean, led plenty of songs, was a writer, producer in her own right.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about her as a worshiper, because you would cry even before she passed. You would cry when she starts singing. I mean, you got that camera on her, but man, you go in like that woman starts singing, it's over.
It was just the anointing that God put on her. I shared at her memorial this year. One thing about Yolanda, if somebody did something to hurt Yolanda, she would take that thing to God. And she would go into that shower and she would get into such a worship session that she would ask God to forgive that person and give her strength to forgive that person and to love that person with everything she had. And that person would never know she had an issue with him.
Love the hell out of them.
Wow.
But it came through her worship. I often used to joke with her. I tell her I got every bill in the house, but the water bill is hers. Because that bathroom.
Look, at Waterworks Ministry.
Worship was her thing, man. Worship, she modeled worship, she lived worship. I mean, the girl, it's true. It's like people said they used to tell us two things. Y'all can't be that much in love. There's no way in the world it's that much love. But they don't realize it was the intimacy with God that drew me to her. It was the intimacy with God.
Come on.
Yeah.
And it helped. I was always a researcher and a studier, but she pulled me into deep levels of worship, into realms and heights and open portals. I mean, I could go in the bathroom and the residue, you hear what I'm saying, would be there. So yeah, that's what she did. She really worshiped. And
that's amazing.
God. Because I think that before coming into what we do today, which is deal with damaged emotions, she had a lot of pain in her life. And the only way prior to getting into what we were doing was worship and be intimate with God. That's the only place she felt safe. She didn't feel safe to talk to nobody. She didn't feel safe to open up to anybody. Now, granted, she was very close to her mom and she was very close to her sister.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But here's the flip side of that. But if she thought her mother or her sister would get him, she'd keep it to herself.
Yeah.
She wouldn't want nobody to get in trouble she didn't like getting in no trouble. And she didn't want nobody else to get in trouble. And if she thought she could save you from trouble, even if it hurt her, she kept it to herself.
She kept it to herself. Wow.
That is big.
And how long, just for the record, for those who are joining, how long were you all married?
We were married for exactly, and I get this wrong all the time, because we were together for 10 years. We were married for 7. We were together for 10.
7.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were married
Together
for
for
7
10.
years. Yeah. But we were together for 10. I keep forgetting.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
a lifetime. When you're in love with the right person, it feels like a lifetime.
Yes.
Well, you guys experienced a lot together. I mean,
And I was going to actually go into, leading up to her death, there were a lot of trials and tribulations that you all experienced, even while counseling us.
Listen.
As soon as they started counseling us, matter of fact, the enemy was at work, y'all.
Exactly. And when I look back at that car accident, my car accident was in February 2019. February 11th, 2019. And when I look back at it, the enemy was trying to take me out because God had opened some doors. We worked with you guys. Y'all was about to come out. I think y'all was coming on the back end of it. And then there were some other places the Lord had opened doors for me to go witness and teach at, and people were getting healed, set free, and delivered. I mean, the enemy was just, he was out there, boy. He was out there trying to get me, but God's hand was on me. So when I look at with my particular accident, left in a wheelchair, when the car hit me, Yolanda jumps out the car. She runs to the back of the car, and we're laying on the ground in the rain. It's cold. She's on her knees. I'm trying not to cry, y'all. Sorry. She's on her knees, and she just tells me, "Baby, lay back. Just lay back. Just lay back. Just lay on me. Just lay on me. Just lay on me. Just lay on me." I mean, blood's going everywhere, and so that moment was another intimate moment. Even in the accident, the moment was so intimate because, I mean, she got down in the trench. When you talk about somebody get down in the trench, it's raining, it's cold. She was down in that trench. That baby was at the hospital every day, unbeknownst to either one of us, the seriousness of what she was going through.
right.
Yes.
In the midst of all that, she kept it so together and, never wanted to bother anybody. She was going through some issues with her lungs herself. And so from the day of my accident, they gave her PTO. And so while she was on, I guess it's what it called, was not PTO, the other thing. Short-term leave.
Leave of absence, LOA.
Yeah, y'all know what it is. I've been out of corporate America for a minute. Hallelujah.
We got you.
Remember, we was in the hospital helping y'all fill out the paperwork.
So anyway, she was on it. Then we went to a banquet shortly, and she got sick that weekend. And so when we got sick out of town. She went to the hospital for 2 days out of town. We got back to Charlotte, went to see her physician. And when she got ready to go back to work, she said, her physician already sent some type of paperwork to a job or whatever and wouldn't let her go back to work. So from the day of my accident to the day she died, we were together every day.
Every day.
Wow.
Every day.
Yeah.
I remember that. She was trying to get away from you.
Huh?
Because she was trying to get away from you.
Probably. Listen, I probably wouldn't have, between prayer and worship, I might not have walked. They told me I would probably never walk.
Come on.
I want to back this up with her worship and her discernment. The leg was so bad, they were talking about amputating it as soon as I got to the hospital.
Right.
And then Yolanda was praying, God don't let him lose his leg. This is before the doctor tells her we're about to take it. Then she's in private prayer and in worship. So she says to the doctor, there's nothing we can do. He said, I want to try one thing. Let's snap it back in place. And if we get a heartbeat when it comes back in place, we'll do everything we can to save it.
Mm-hmm.
When they snapped it back in place, and that joker said, doo, 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 doo. So it was a result. To God be glory. Yes, thank you, Lord God. So, they and talk about getting away, Tom. They said that I would probably never walk again. And then when they say I could walk, they said, well, it'll probably take 2 years. And then, between the worship and prayer and her taking care of me, next thing was, well, Mr. Generette, you might be walking in a year. First of all, I might not never walk again, to 2 years, to 1 year. But when the Lord said it all said and done, I was walking in 9 months.
That's how long it takes to deliver a baby, right?
Come on here. Come on. All right, Apostle
Birthing something. Go ahead.
Come on, birth and purpose.
She nursed me back to health in a way that only Yolanda could. I mean, only Yolanda could. She served me in her own dilemma like you cannot imagine. You know,
so selfless for her to
That
be
is her.
going through what she was going through. Yeah, and
Yeah.
saying, no, I see you experiencing this kind of pain, and this is a life-changing experience for the both of us, and I refuse to let go of God and the promises that God has spoken over our
Right.
marriage.
Yeah,
So
and
that was awesome.
I mean, whew, when I tell you she had customer service, I mean, in corporate America on lock, they loved her. She got all kind of awards and plaques and
Yes.
trips and bonus cards for the way she handled customers,
Yeah,
for real.
yeah.
She
She
made
definitely
me
was.
bleed in no time. I'm like, okay, go get it, girl. So that's just who she was.
Yeah.
She took great care of me, great care of me. She always
I
tell
want to
me,
go back and revisit that because the fact, for those of you maybe who just jumped on,
Yeah.
his wife, his
Like
ex-wife
Lexi.
Yolanda,
Mm-hmm.
was already experiencing. She had a lung condition, and he had just experienced a devastating accident. He's getting ready to. They're talking about amputating his leg.
Mm-hmm.
He may not be able to walk again. And neither one of them knows that his wife is suffering with the lung disease that she had.
Yes.
And I mean, it's only in hindsight after everything was over that we would sit and think about it like, you've got to be kidding me. How did she do it?
she served.
Him
She
first.
served every day. But Yolanda
I mean,
never wanted to be a bother to nobody. I remember prior to my accident, something was going on, and I was like, when she'd work hard and good, and I'd be out doing the things that I did, I would say, okay, honey, look, I'm coming through, I'm scooping you up, I'm taking you to dinner, and I'm
Yeah.
taking you to a movie, and you're gonna relax.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, Apostle Tommy, hindsight, and when things were changing, but I just thought she wanted to stay home. I didn't, she's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
no, just go by, pick the food up, come home, let's do a staycation, let's just watch the movie in the room.
Yeah.
Just sleep. Just
Right.
sleep.
Didn't even
through the whole
expect
time.
anything. Wow.
I remember when you actually found out how bad things were with her. You were
Yeah.
both at the doctor's appointment.
Kind of share that.
Yeah,
And be real. Like,
yeah,
was
because-
there anger that, like, how are you not going to tell me?
You
Let's be
really
real.
want to know?
Yeah.
They ran some tests, and the doctor said that they would get back with Yolanda. The office would get back with Yolanda. Here's what ticked me off right here. When they called back, the doctor said for Yolanda to come. Well, somehow one of the nurses or nurse's aide or whoever worked the desk told Yolanda that everything was good, but forgot to say come. Oh, Miss Jenner, everything looks good. So it was like a mishap, so to speak. Then Yolanda was like, another reason she didn't want to go to the doctor, in a sense, was because she didn't want to be a bother. The copay was kind of steep, so she only went when it was super necessary. And I said, don't you worry about that. We got the copay. You go and get there. But when this came out, when the issue came out, I was disappointed. I was hurt. But being around Yolanda, y'all want to know what I learned? As hot as I was, she didn't need me fussing.
So you withheld all of that.
No, I ain't withheld it.
Oh, yeah. She got it. She got it.
No. She didn't get it, but I didn't withhold it.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is, when love, y'all people listen to me, when love takes over, it was a love takeover. My love was so strong for her that I had to figure out how to say what I needed to say without fussing.
Yeah. You were soft in how you handled her.
Soft. Man, like a squishy banana. I said, I let her know, hey, babe, I just wish you just would have, kept going or stay involved. You were concerned about the finances. I said, honey, there's no amount of finance that can replace your life.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I said to her. I didn't go any further than that.
Okay.
Not to
Okay.
mention, she was taking care of me. I didn't want one of those I could do bad by myself incidents. Remember that wheelchair they pushed me
Yeah.
in?
In
No,
the
I'm not
tub.
kidding.
You are hilarious. Oh, that Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
Yeah. There you go. I didn't want to end up in the bathtub. No, but I was soft there.
So from that perspective, though, what is your viewpoint when it comes to, you know, people's physical health and, you know,
Saints of God, non-believer, whoever you are, don't play with your health. Get on it right away. Life is too short. That precious baby end up putting time on earth 51 years, you know, so we don't want to play with that. We don't play with your health. Go get it taken care of ASAP. Go. If you don't have medical insurance, go. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Let them bill it. You know what I mean? But go get help. Don't play with that.
So what would you say for the couple who just really don't have that level of transparency in their marriage from a health perspective? Maybe they've just been the caretaker for so long and they're like, okay, well, what I'm going through may not be as bad, or if it is, I don't want to upset my kids. I don't want to upset my spouse.
Listen, let me tell you something. You know, we're talking about death.
Come on.
We're talking about death. You don't want to upset them. You don't want to hurt them. Go ahead and close them eyes. So I would rather give you a hurt and get healed and healthy than give you a hurt that's never going anywhere. You know, I had the opportunity to talk this weekend, and I got a revelation about it with my doctor. I went to see my ortho doctor, the one who did the actual operation, and I was telling him about the pain in my foot. And I said, man, this pain. He said, Mr. Jerry, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. He said, you'll probably live with that pain for the rest of your life. Right? And then I got a revelation from God. God said to me, Generette, pain never goes away. You just learn how to manage it better.
That's it.
I told my wife that.
Yeah, it never goes away. The only way time pain leaves is in Revelation, where it talks about when God will wipe away all your tears, there'll be no more suffering. There'll be no more suffering, and pain is going to be here to the day we close our eyes. You just learn that because you accept it as a part of life.
You know, I was involved in, as you know, an accident many years ago. You know, it kind of shattered my spine. And, you know, my wife and I were talking, and she kind of got on me one day. She was like, you know, you didn't tell me about the pain. And I said, baby, every day of my life, I've got to deal with pain. But God showed me how to manage it. So pain is no longer. I just know how to manage it. It's not something that is a big deal.
I came from, and where he had to understand where I was coming from. I came from the household where health conditions were not really, spoken of.
Right.
I used to go to the doctor's appointments with my mother, and she would lie to the doctors about what was going on, or she would get home and kind of like dismiss or kind of downgrade the whole scenario. So seeing this, it always used to frustrate me. So I would rather know more, especially in a marriage.
Right.
We're supposed to be close enough for you to share those intimate things with me. So I just feel like that place in marriage, when it comes to your health, there should not be any kind of fear or hesitancy, sharing that with your spouse at all.
Oh, no. Don't play around. One of the reasons is, it all depends on where you come from. The culture, like you said, the culture where you come from. In Yolanda's case, her thing was she never wanted to hurt anybody. It's the last person on this planet Yolanda ever wanted to hurt. Well, she probably wanted to hurt me physically, but the last person on this planet, she may have never wanted to hurt. She never wanted to hurt anybody. It just wasn't her. That just wasn't her nature. Yolanda, if you tell a person the truth, you're not hurting them. The truth is gonna hurt them, but you just the dispenser of truth.
Yes.
And so that just wasn't her. But yes, Jessica, you're emphatically correct, Lady J. You have to share everything. That way your mate's not caught unaware, because you're gonna deal with it. You're gonna process it. you're going to process it, and you're going to deal with it. You're going to deal with it, and you're going to process it. Back what Apostle was saying, pain physically and pain emotionally is something that we're going to deal with for the rest of our life. Physical and emotional pain. Now, here it is. People think there's a level of spiritual pain, but that's not it. Emotional pain, physical pain produces spiritual growth. And what it is a spiritual growing pain. You understand? Everything we go to is to lead us to what God called us to do in the earth realm. Yeah. When you get in control of it, it's just God reconciling the earth back to himself. And sometimes he has to use pain. But here's something that we have to learn. God gives us a choice. He doesn't force it.
Yeah. Ooh.
If you choose his way, it's going to be difficult. Now here's the kicker. If you don't choose his way, it's going to be more difficult.
Without him. But that's true. So kind of share with us, naturally you shared with us the life of you all being married and kind of how you had the butterflies before y'all got married. At first, like you knew that was your wife.
Oh man, please. I knew that was it. And what was funny was, Apostle Tommy, Lady Jack, I used to always pursue Yolanda. Let's get married. Man. Blah, blah, blah. And then when she decided to accept the engagement, oh my God. Because it just got real. We were at a birthday dinner party for me. She put the ring. I had been bought her the ring. She just said, I'm not ready to put it on yet. But when she got ready, she put the ring in the bag. Everybody gave their gifts. Her gift was last. So she said, I shook it out and the ring pops out. So I have to walk from my chair to the head table where she was. Now, while it was only about 5 to 7 feet, I promise I thought it was a mile, right? To walk. That's how much, fear kicked in a little bit.
Right.
That fear, because it got real. So I put the ring on her hand and I told her I love her and I hugged her. Now we in a room full of guests, so the guests didn't hear it. And in my ear, she says, I am scared to death. And I told her,
I remember that. That is hilarious.
Because the ring signified, we didn't have the term, we didn't coin the term then, but it's real. No exits.
Yep. And given the fact that you both had been married before, this wasn't your first rodeo, so
no,
it has to work. This has no choice but to work.
And you guys also brought children into the relationship.
Yep.
And what I found amazing is if no one knew that you guys were not previously married, you would have thought that all of your kids were from the both of you. Explain that for us real quick.
It's just the love we exemplified. One of the things that drew Yolanda to me was when she met me, I was a single father of 6 children, and they would come stay with me, and of course I couldn't do the girls' hair. And so I had to figure out some way to get it done. So Yolanda's daughter cousin, Yogi, would take my daughters over the house. She would braid their hair and everything. And I would offer to pay her and she wouldn't take it, So, and then the kids would go to Sunday school and they was in love. My children fell in love with Yolanda as their Sunday school teacher.
Wow.
Never knew I had been attracted to her.
They met her as the Sunday school teacher, not your fiance or girlfriend. Okay.
My daughter spent the night at her house before we ever started talking about a relationship. Following weekend, she took my sons to a lock-in. They were building and bonding their own relationship. They were doing it on their own.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Wow.
My children fell in love with her outside of me. And I think that was the plus.
Yeah.
That was the plus.
Not everyone has that story.
Right.
So from that perspective, especially like for the ones who are older, was there kind of like
I'm quite sure what Yolanda had been through with the previous marriage and her children, there was a concern. There was a concern
Okay.
with her. There was a concern, of course, I'm almost sure with her sister. There was a concern, of course, with her mother, the grandmother, and the aunt. And Yolanda and Bridget children were like, Yolanda's children was Bridget's children. Bridget's children was Yolanda's children. So
Yeah.
it was more like an extension as opposed to an auntie, so to speak. And
Okay.
Grandma Bebet was just Grandma Bebet. So, you know, everybody was concerned about that aspect. I'm a slim man, thank the Lord, hallelujah, right now. But I was a big man with a big mouth, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm quite sure they had their concerns. But over time,
Over
now,
time.
Moya always traveled with Yolanda and I. So, you know, it was, you know, kind of cool. With the
Yeah.
artists, I kind of had to let it be what it was going to be. You know, I couldn't go in there and call him, hey, son, you know, you're my son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, he had a father. You know, he dealt with some roughness with a stepfather. So all I could do is go in and just be a friend to the artist. And that's what I did. You know,
Okay.
anywhere I could connect with him, I tried to connect. Anywhere, you know, I could coach him. I tried to coach him. And so even today, I think we have a pretty decent relationship. You know, he'll call and talk to me. He checks on me. You know what I mean? How
Yeah.
you doing when I check on him? You know, and of course, I'm still dad in the sense of when we need, you know, children need help or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's a grown, mature man because whatever I help him with, he gives it back. I'm very proud
Yeah.
of him. So, you know, it grew over time and people would see the love. In fact, Diaris was a great help with my boys. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah. He was a great help with them. And so they kind of they love each other. They bonded. They stuck up for each other to this day. You know, Diaz and Erica had wars like brother and sister. You would never know that they weren't biological.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Now,
So tell us kind of, you know, after she passed, what was that journey like?
well, from, you know, with Moya, who was living at the house with us, Diaz by that time, Diaz had his own place. He had his own place. So for Moya to transition up with her aunt and to stay with her aunt, you know, it was different, especially after being in the house with mom or whatever. So it was a rough period because, you know, we just miss each other. I don't know no other way to say it with me and Moya.
Yeah.
Moya and I have like we have this love. Sometimes I just like you relationship. What Moya thing is, she loves me to death. You know, just don't want to hear pop fuss. Lord, Moya was the peacemaker in the house. She be telling him, all right,
She got that from her mom.
he gonna be fussing out, you know. Moya, whatever I do, just don't fuss. I don't care what you do, Pop J, just hush it. So that was that. We hung out this weekend again, and I mean, she's just my baby. I love her so much. I think that our relationship, a lot of times, she knows how much her mom loved me. And so I know that when she's in my presence, it's like being around mom and her.
Yeah.
You know, and come to find out, you know, it's a two-way street. When I'm around her, I just have a piece of Yolanda. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
our relationship has gotten really closer, I believe, even in our distance. Yeah.
That's really great. Great. The fact that the children, they had that type of relationship coming from blended family perspective, and just the fact that you still keep in contact with, they're not just Yolanda's children, they're your children together.
Oh man, please.
Blood doesn't make you family. So that's the perspective, and I just love that. And we can attest to that, how you are with Moya and everything.
Listen, he preached this past weekend, and I had the opportunity to sneak peek, watch him preaching. First of all, you preach like a madman.
Man, thank you.
I'm saying that because as he got finished preaching, lo and behold, here come Moya.
Yeah, and she stayed with me.
Off her daddy.
Yeah.
And to stand there with daddy, you ended up sitting in the seat, and she just sat there rubbing your back, and I just laughed and I said, "That is my girl right there. She don't play.
She don't
about
play.
her father."
She do not play.
She's protective, but I think Moya gets that protective nature from Yolanda. Now, while Yolanda was quiet, who Yolanda loved, she protected. You know, and I think, you know, I called her an earth angel when we first started dating. I used to call her my terror, my earth angel. So now I believe she's my heavenly angel watching down. I still believe she protects and watches over us. You know, and so that was Moya. Moya just so guarded and so protected. You know, she told the people, he just got 2 minutes to give him 10 feet and caution tape. You know,
Right.
So, what would you say for those who may have dealt with losing a spouse that they may have not grieved properly? How would you share from a grieving perspective and moving forward?
I'm glad you asked that, Jess, because while Yolanda was in the hospital, I was still going through physical therapy. I'm going somewhere with my story.
Go ahead. It's blessing us. Go ahead.
So anyway, we were. Let me see. What was it? I gotta get my point. Somebody emailing and texting and carrying on come across the screen. But anyway, what was the question, Jess? Bring it back to me real quick.
The question about the grieving process. What would you say for those?
There it is. I was going through physical therapy, and after physical therapy, I was going to y'all know. Then Yolanda died, right? Mm-hmm. Right after Yolanda died, I still had to go back to physical therapy. So I really didn't grieve per se in that moment. And right after that, I battled cancer. You know, I'm talking about accident. 9 months later, almost to the day Yolanda dies. 3 months after Yolanda dies, I'm diagnosed with cancer. So while it was 2 separate years, 19 and 20, you understand, I didn't grieve to 2021. Yolanda left our house October 21st, 2019. Mm-hmm. October 21st, 2020, I lost it. I lost it like it was the day of her funeral, you know? So there's a thing called delayed grief, depending on what you're facing, what you're going through. Because by that time I was settled, I was relaxed, and I lost it. Right after October 21st, she died on November 9th, which was 21 days later. I lost it. Right after that, what was that? October 9th, her birthday was December 13th. You know, we prepped, we got the single ready. The day we released it, I lost it. You know, Christmas was her favorite holiday, and I lost it.
Right.
And so, yeah, you never, ever, 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 ever. If you're in love, now let me say this. Let me share this. There are some couples. There are some people that I counsel whose spouses died, right? But they died on bad terms. They were on bad terms when the spouse died. You know, they were living together, bad terms. Watch this. And I'm saying, you know, me and Yolanda was on such good terms. We was in love. I'm missing. I'm grieving. I'm hurting. You know, and I mean, there's some folks that, you know, I ain't saying I ain't glad he died, but I ain't upset that they ain't here, you know?
Yeah, there are some. Yeah, we know.
True story. True story.
But for me, it's you know, it gets better with time, one day at a time. You know, you manage pain daily. You manage pain daily. There are times I'll get up. A lot of people don't notice in my grief process. Now, while the impact of my major grief was delayed, her side of the bed, it's got all kind of stuff on it. You know what I mean? It's got sweatpants, hoodies, pillows, socks, blankets, you know, because when I roll over, you know, and I didn't even realize that that's a part of grief. Every time, you know, your bed, that side of the bed ain't never made up. You know, I look at people in this lab, but I never zeroed in that I keep it that way.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, because I was so used to roll over and holding her.
Yeah.
You know, I roll over, I can't roll over because there's anything over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know,
that is huge. Now I want to go somewhere that might be a little controversial in that regard, but I mean we're here, and we know it's reality. You're, you know, a dynamic, anointed man of God. You know, have an apostle that covers you. You guys are pretty much known nationwide. I mean, all over the place. Yeah. We know that there was everybody, you know, under the sun praying for her. praying for her recovery, praying for her healing. Did you experience maybe some bitterness in the fact that there was not an answer to prayer on from that perspective as it pertained to her, but yet she ended up passing as well?
Tommy, Apostle, I'm glad you asked that. I wasn't, I found myself one time preaching in South Carolina. And it had to be deep inside. I'm glad you asked that. I'm gonna be naked and transparent. In the middle of the message, I was given an illustration, and before I knew it came out my mouth, why God did you take her and leave me? So yeah, it came out. I was in the middle of preaching, and I had never said it before. I had never looked at it before. But I did say, why, God, did you take her and not me? I did do that. I had that moment, but I was in the middle of preaching. So I know it came from a real place that had to get out of me.
Yeah.
So, Yolanda was very infectious, very warm, very inviting. There were plenty of people that loved that girl. And I mean, her touch and her reach, the building sat 1,200 people. Y'all was there. It was full to capacity, and people was on the outside couldn't get in.
Yeah.
So, I often now this is funny. I do. Jonathan McReynolds says comparison kills, but I often wonder when I go, will I be able to pack a place to capacity like that?
Wow. I mean,
I wonder about it.
That's a thought.
I wonder about it because people, they came out the woodwork,
Yeah.
And
it was a lot of people there.
Yeah,
there was from everywhere.
I'm not jealous or envious. I was like, Lord, you thought enough for me to give me somebody that significant. I was humbled.
Yeah.
And
that was something.
Let me have that effect.
Right. But that's one of the gifts about, God. And as you said, she was a earth angel, now a heavenly angel. It definitely manifested itself in that way. I mean, it messed her and I up, tremendously, when she passed. I mean, and granted, we're with you guys at the hospital during her last moments and everything,
Yeah.
So we kind of got to experience the whole gamut of things, but it still was just such an unbelievable.
It was
something that you just weren't expecting.
No, I knew things were different. Let me tell you when I knew things were different. I had been to a couple emergency room visits with Yolanda, but it was nothing like this particular emergency room visit. I couldn't walk, but by faith, I drove her to that hospital. Had oxygen gas with my chair. They got me to the driver's seat. I drove that joker with their good left foot. Got her to the hospital. So by the time they got her out, rushed her in, I had to park the car. I had to get my wheelchair out. They had to roll me in. And by the time I got back to where she was,
man,
I just knew that visit was different. It was different than all the ones we'd ever had before,
Right.
And then I'm praying and crying out to God. I said, Lord, I've prayed and I've watched people get healed. We've prayed and seen people get delivered. God, what's going on here? Tell me what's happening right now. And it was the Wednesday before she passed. And this scripture came to me so clear. The Garden of Gethsemane. When Jesus was praying, this scripture came the Wednesday before she passed. He said, Ron, all I could get was, nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. That's all I got that Wednesday. When I really cried out and was talking to God, he gave me that. And so when he gave me that, I said, Lord, you will. And I believe that Yolanda got there by Friday, because when I got there from physical therapy Friday, we started talking. and she started talking about, they were failing. Everything was done to dig it. They're going to keep on doing whatever they could do. But the Lord gave me this revelation, y'all. Just, I don't know, was it the day before yesterday, 2 days ago? This is why Yolanda's death caught us, everybody off guard. I'm going to tell you why. This is what I believe the Holy Spirit revealed to me. Yolanda said, okay, God. She spoke with me and Bridget the night before she passed. And she said, I'm going to fight to keep staying here because I love my family. And she said, but if I go, it's because God loved me most. This is the night before she dies. So we think we got 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7, let's get a hospice visit or something.
Yeah.
When Yolanda made peace with that thing that night, she had made peace with it that day. The palliative caretaker had came in and spoken with her. And I knew something had shifted, but I didn't know what. Well, after the funeral, I got her phone and I listened to she voice memo everything. That day, I listened to the voice memo. And I found out that she had accepted. That's why she was where she was that night. They had told her they did everything they could do. And, she said, I didn't want to die. I love my family, whatever. But when she made peace with it,
yeah.
the reason it was so quick, y'all, because she told God, come quick, don't linger.
Wow.
She didn't want to be in any more pain.
She didn't. She said, Lord, if you're coming, come quick. Don't draw it out. If you're coming, and that revelation came to me like 3 days ago. She told me, come quick, God, because everybody's like, what happened? What happened? What happened? Rod, what happened? I was like, she was doing good. And I mean, we the day she died, we were holding a conversation as if like you and I are holding a conversation right now. We were holding a conversation like that. They put Yolanda on life support. I think she's on there all of 20 minutes.
Wow. Jesus.
So when she made peace with it, she told God, move expeditiously.
Wow. So one last question I actually have for you is for the couples who have experienced such a tragic loss, do you believe, kind of a two-part question, do you believe the fact that they're at the mind state of just not wanting to ever date again, not ever wanting to marry again? Do you believe that is a mature place to have, or is it the fact that a person who thinks that way is still honoring, their late spouse or whatever, in a sense of just feeling like they're cheating on them?
Let me tell you something. I'm so glad. Yolanda and I used to joke about, she used to be like, when I go, I'm going to pick your next wife. I said, we're joking 6, 7 months out, not knowing she's really going to leave. We're joking like that.
No, she said in one of our counseling sessions. She sure did.
Wow. So y'all remember. So
I remember her saying that. I remember her saying that. So you're not lying.
So I said, it ain't going to work. She said, why? I said, because she's going to say, hey, babe, talk about the new wife. Hey, babe, let's go on a trip. I'll be like, oh, give me a minute. Let me go in the house and get Yolanda off the mantle. You know what I mean?
So silly.
I said, she's going to have a problem, because, see, what I know about Yolanda, I'm going to ask you a question and get out of here. What I know about Yolanda, back to that selfless, and what I also know about Yolanda, she was just so loving, and she was just so sweet. So the danger for me is not subconsciously comparing any woman to her. Yolanda wouldn't, because of her selflessness, she wouldn't want me to be alone.
Yeah.
She wouldn't want me to be by myself.
Yeah.
She knew me in the natural, and she knew me spiritually. She's like, nah. She said, your spiritual man might be alone. Your spiritual man may be able to be by himself. But nah, brother, I know you need somebody for the flesh realm.
Yeah.
And so,
that's real.
Yeah. So what I've learned is you move forward. People say you move on. You never move on. You move forward. And so, you never move on. You move forward. So in moving forward, I mean, she had selected somebody for me. We conversate. We talked about it. We deal with it. we go in and out. We have moments, you know what I'm saying? So it was like kind of like a work in progress, so to speak.
Yeah.
But sometimes the struggle is who can I replace Yolanda?
Mm.
And I'm like, no, that shouldn't be a concern. Whoever comes, whatever the final decision will be, it should never be. I mean, Yolanda was Yolanda. She's irreplaceable.
Yes. Come on.
Yolanda. But you have to be who you are and what God called you to do in this season. So, yeah, for people that's going forward, there are some folk that you'll never, ever, ever, you'll never, like I said, forget them. Here's what I was going to say. Yolanda was my best friend, too. So I didn't just lose a wife.
Mm-hmm.
That part is big. And y'all were friends, no doubt.
I lost my best friend. We traveled, we clowned. I mean, you name it. I mean, we were friends outside of marriage. We weren't just husband and wife.
Yeah.
We were friends. So I lost a best friend. You know, my friend is going to be forever in my heart. And I mean, and there's no, whoever comes or however the future turns out, they're going to have to be able to handle that. Look, I lost my friend. So I honor my friend. I honor
so my friend. I am going to share things. You know, I'm going to bring up her name, you know.
And, for people out here, as we get ready to close, go look at some TED Talks about marrying a widow or marrying a widower or death and remarriage. One of the things, there's this powerful talk out there where it says it takes a powerful person to be with a person who was in love with their deceased spouse while they were alive. You have to know you have to know who you are. You have to know what your role is, because the young lady talks about how when she grieves, watch this, her deceased husband, her new husband comforts her.
That, you know what, that is a big point.
That takes maturity.
I want to say it takes maturity to know, and what you said, know your role. And that, that a lot of times is such a negative connotation. But the reality is, if you know your role, there's no reason for insecurity.
Not at all. And you want to know another thing? You want to know another thing? There was another woman, a man's wife died. She met her husband, right? They got married. He wanted to do something to honor his deceased wife. The lady helps out. Are y'all ready for this? Not only it's one of the biggest things, and I'll get you. Y'all can share the link with the people, whatever, sometime next week. Here's the killer: the deceased's mother and family. We're talking about his in-laws. Yeah. Are y'all ready for this?
Go ahead.
Every holiday, the in-laws not only send him stuff, they send a new wife stuff.
Wow.
Maturity. That is something that can't happen. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people are not that mature to be able to deal with something like that. But again, when we're talking about a death, and that's just it, we're not talking about a separation. We're not talking about a divorce. And to the point that you made earlier, that's really so powerful. You said it. You know, me and my wife were getting along great when she passed. I wasn't in the doghouse. She wasn't in the doghouse. We wasn't, one room, the other room. We were together when it happened. That is really big and major because, to your point, there are some couples who experience it when they're maybe already mentally checked out.
Wow. The thing is, Apostle Tom, the thing at the end of the day is pain is pain. And when you're selfless, you can see somebody else's pain. I'm not jealous because what the guy was saying when he came and hold the woman, he's like, I'm not jealous because she's grieving over her deceased husband. They had children together. They were in a good place when they died. She's in pain. If I'm in her life, I'm here to help relieve the pain. I'm not here to add to it. I'm not gonna argue with you. You still in love with him and you crying over him and No, they have moments.
What is that?
They have moments in life. They celebrated their children's birthdays together. They celebrated their Christmases together. And what if there's a birthday moment and the mother's son is having a moment over his father, and the mother decides to cry because she knows her son's pain?
Yeah.
Does that mean on? It takes a level of true maturity and identity. You gotta have identity, and you definitely have to be mature, and you have to know your role in it. You
Yeah.
have to know your role. I'm here to help mend that baby pain. And I'm gonna tell you, it makes the person love you more. It makes him love you more. He understands my heartache. He understands my pain. He understands my grief.
Yes. Amen.
She said that thing makes her fall so much in love, more in love with her new husband. She said she never stopped loving her old husband, but when he comforts her and he's there for her and her kids, she says, "Oh, it makes me just fall so much more in love with him."
Yeah. You know, I can honestly say in my life that I've witnessed what you're talking about. I mean, I had an aunt who was married previously, and she loved her husband to no end. And he ended up passing. And what's interesting is there was a guy that came into her life that her husband, before he passed, shared with him and said, "Take care of my wife.
Wow.
She needs someone that will take care of her and will be able to do for her the things that I was not able to do." And this man literally came into my aunt's house, my aunt's life, and became everything that my other uncle was not to her. And they're together to this day. So what you said really just kind of struck a nerve with me, because I witnessed that. I saw it. And, you know, and my aunt's life really has gone to a whole different dimension because of the man that my uncle, before he passed, picked for her.
Wow.
And that just says so much. And I mean, he was struggling with cancer and on the job. Now watch this. This gonna blow your mind. He was struggling with cancer. He was in the final stages of cancer, and you know, he just kind of watched this man. Watch this. This man is a white man on the surface that would look like a redneck. Wouldn't even look like the type of person that her husband would have said, "Hey, you need to," but he selected him and chose him. So literally when my uncle passed, this man was there for my aunt from the very moment to this day, all these years later. And it is so amazing to think that it was through the cancer that he spoke to her and said, "This is the man that's going to take care of you." And my aunt did not want to receive it, but that indeed was the man that was going to take care of her and has taken care of her to this day.
Wow. They just know. They know. They just have a way of knowing, by knowing what they see and knowing what you need. That's good. Boy, you're blessed.
Not to go into a whole lot of detail, but she kind of did that with you. Yolanda told you, she said, "Look, if you're gonna do anything, this is who you're gonna do it with, but don't do it with nobody else."
Yeah.
Exactly. Those are the exact words. She says, I said, "Well, why?" She said, "Because they need to be loved the way you love me."
Wow.
And
Wow.
she said, and in turn, they're gonna take care of you the way that I did.
Yeah.
That's powerful. It is when you that shows the selflessness, but it also shows a level of maturity for a person. Naturally, they're kind of in their last stages of life, so they know something that we don't know, obviously, which makes them say, "Okay, you know what? Don't be bamboozled."
Here's what's funny, Apostle. The Wednesday that I got that same revelation, the particular person came to the hospital to see Yolanda. So Yolanda asked her, "How you doing?" And "I'm good. I'm whatever. So she said, "Well, what's your relationship like? Like, what's up?" And she was like, "I'm tired. I'm done. I'm not dealing." And Yolanda gently leaned up and pulled her mask off and told her, "Shh, quiet. You got one more assignment. Put a mask right back on.
Wow.
Wow.
See, that right there. Wow. That, I mean, what can you say? But again, that's when you can't deny in those instances when God is doing something.
And I'm pretty sure that gave closure too.
I mean,
That
it gives you a level of peace
Yeah.
to be able to move forward, as you mentioned earlier. Not so much moving on, but just recognizing that, wow, I've been given an authorization if need be.
Yeah.
Right.
I can move forward, and there's not going to be
This guilt.
No
this
guilt.
guilt.
Not, right. She left here and she left me guilt free.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest real quick, the apostle in me. Because the church is so hypocritical. They just gonna come at you. He dating, or he out there this, or he that, nah. And and the reality is that's why I wanted you to touch on earlier. If you felt like if there was even some pain inside, some bitterness toward not getting the answer to prayer, so to speak, or let me say it this way, getting the answer a different way than you expected.
Right. But like I told you, he set me straight Wednesday. The Holy Spirit set me straight Wednesday, Tommy. Apostle, when he dropped that, nevertheless my will.
Yeah.
I said, out of all script, I heard it in a still small audible voice. That thing came to me so clear. Matthew, when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yeah.
It was like sweats of blood dropping from him when he was in prayer, praying a different way. The Lord had already settled it. It was already settled. The Lord had settled it. And so, it is what it is. He settled it. I don't feel bad about it. I miss her. I'm always gonna miss her. You know what I'm saying? But no, she set me free. Set the record straight. So I'm good. Yeah.
Just like only she would.
No,
Yeah, like say it again, Jessica. Only like Yolanda could and would. That she was just a special, awesome woman of God. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't say it enough. I was blessed with a jewel.
That's true.
I was blessed to live with a jewel in this earth, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have had one of God's best. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, about to close out, just share with us what's going on in your world now. I mean, obviously you're still, which I thank you so much for your transparency about letting us know, that the grieving process, because of it being delayed, you're really still really processing and grieving the right way.
Oh, for sure.
So good.
Men, we don't like anything broken. You understand? Men are fixers. Even in death, we're fixers.
Right.
So I'm trying to pick up the pieces where I left off. Where it left off, I didn't want nothing broken. I wanted to keep the cycle going. But when the grief hit, it put everything on a hold. It put everything in a standstill. The locomotive, the engine just went. So while a choice was chosen, I realized why the brakes started. I didn't realize why the brakes were coming, but when October 20th, I was sensing, between discernment and deep hidden emotions, and when they manifested, I like, we got to slow down because now I'm taking in death.
Right.
Now I'm taking in everything, and if you could be patient through the process, then you drove it. There are many days I view, could I live alone? Should I live by myself? Right along up in here. Now I'm asking the critical questions. When initially everything happened, because I didn't want that break, I wanted to keep moving. So I kind of did a service. So I had to apologize. I had to repent. Look,
so you wouldn't stay still. You're admitting to the fact you just would not stay still, so you didn't have time to even ponder or think about it.
Right. I didn't want the break. I didn't want the, I was still in the wheelchair. Yolanda was taking care of me. Somebody got to pick up this slack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So while she was selfish, I was kind of self-centered. I don't even want to say selfish. I want to use the term self-centered
Okay.
In the process, I hurt somebody else. So I had to apologize. Say, oh, let's slow down. But, but yeah.
I remember me and you having a heated discussion about that.
Oh, yeah, Jerk.
Because I was like, dude.
Don't get it twisted. The students will talk to the teacher too. I mean, you guys wasn't like with it. You guys was real with it. I don't see one thing about me. As much as people think that I'm not teachable because I'm loud. Loud don't mean unteachable. Loud mean what it means. Loud.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
let me tell on you for a minute.
I get that.
Let me tell on you for a minute. Watch this. Remember, babe, I was out and about and I'm going somewhere and he's in his recovering process and he's not even supposed to be driving at the time. And I jumped on the freeway and I'm on the freeway and I called my wife on the phone because I'm like, baby, there's this fool on the doggone interstate driving slow all in the middle of the traffic and I can't get around him. He about to make me mad. And I'm just going off. Finally, I get to the side of the car and I look and it's him. It's him driving the car. But at the time, they were talking about cutting his leg off. He's not supposed to be driving.
With that left foot.
That good old left foot.
Man, that was hilarious. I called him up and I said, "What are you doing?"
I was going to a wedding rehearsal and Yolanda was in the house and she needed to rest.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said too.
I said, hey, I'm driving because the baby needed to rest. She was my driver and everything, but right then she needed rest.
Yeah.
Right.
She had just started taking the oxygen and everything. She said, babe, you going to rehearsal? I said, unless JB coming to drive me, I'm going. JB ain't going, so I went.
Hey, you got one good leg. That's all you need.
You know what that is, Apostle. You know what that is. Why you playing around and snitching on me? It's cool. But really what it is, it's the apostolic thrust.
Yeah.
I had to get there. It was a wedding. They only wanted me to do the wedding.
Right.
And
yeah.
It was practice because when I had to take Yolanda to the hospital, I was good.
Yeah.
Right there.
That's why I was slow. I bet you I down took to the hospital. I had that white car on 2 wheels.
Man, listen, that thing was so funny though. I said, man,
wow.
I called him up and I said, what are you doing? He was so mad at me. He said, I can't get away with nothing with you, can I? I said, man, I got eyes on you no matter what.
Yeah.
We was on that phone crying. We was on that phone crying. He said, what are you doing on 285, right? I tell you where you're going toward Pineville.
Gave him the location and everything.
Yeah, I called him up. I said, what are you doing? He's like, I'm on 485. Yes, you are. What you mean? I said, I'm behind you. What? Oh man, that was crazy. But no,
we really thank you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the story. What do you have going on now? Because you mentioned earlier about Next Generation and you're building that. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Ministry. There are some people that saw something in me and just asked me to father and to cover. And then there are some others that are a part that I consult. They're not necessarily under, but we walk beside each other, hold each other accountable. And so right now we're just, we're waiting. We do a lot of things virtual. I always want to say viral because it go viral, but virtual. We do a lot of things virtually. And so we in fact, we just kicked off a Fifth Sunday Fellowship. Watch this. Last week before last, was it last week? When was Fifth Sunday? Was First Sunday this Sunday?
No, it was last week.
Was it last week?
Yeah.
Okay. We did Fifth Sunday Fellowship in Sumter, actually. Turn out. Yeah. And so we have a ministry down in Union, Apostle Dudley and Prophetess Eva Lee Thompson III, House of Reconciliation, Apostle Select, Thomas Presley with New Life right there in Sumter. I have my covenant brother, Apostle Michael Richburg, and his ministry is Supernatural Divine Guidance. You know, I hang out with my brother Apostle Ron Long in oh God, the Samaritan House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what we're doing. And then we have a Pastor Brenda Means. She's working new work in Spartanburg. So we're watching things from that perspective.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So still traveling.
Huh?
Still traveling, doing the kingdom.
Listen. I preach in August. And from August to New Year's Eve, I was booked. God is faithful. From August to New Year's Eve. In fact, this is funny, y'all. Me and the Evans passed each other. We stayed in the same hotel and didn't even know it.
We stayed
in the same
hotel.
Yeah, I saw the car but didn't think it was your car. And he was like, man, who cares?
See, the Lord didn't give him that revelation then.
Huh?
The Lord didn't give him that revelation then that you was at the same hotel, but you was up to no good traveling on the interstate. And that's when the Lord said, yep, that's him.
I said something. I went to the desk that day and asked, are the Evanses here? You know, well, no, I asked about the church, the ministry that was in the meeting room. And they said, oh, they're all gone. So I didn't think you guys stayed overnight. You know, had I known, we could have went to Buffalo Wild Wings next door to the hotel.
I know, that's our spot.
Well,
that's our spot. Come on here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, down this way, definitely. But we got it on lockdown down there or something, no doubt. But and that's crazy because you are doing the work in Sumter, just as we're doing the work in Sumter. And we keep missing each other, but we've been saying we got to do something anyway. Together, We were supposed to be together during the New Year's, and I admit, y'all, because of COVID, I was like, nah, we're not going to do it. But I'm just going to say in March, that's over with. That's over with. We hit the road.
It's a wrap.
We hitting the road.
We got some information to keep y'all in the loop of what's cracking. But yeah,
that'll work.
Yes.
Well, thank you again. Thank you all.
Man, love you guys so much. Thank you for the opportunity to share, man.
Man.
Y'all are wonderful people. Listen, everybody that is working with the Evans, everybody that's been submitted to the Evans, they talked a little about my testimony, but I just want to testify on their behalf. When I tell you they sat down, and I'm talking about for 1 full year, and they did it. They did it. Whatever it took, they did it. And that's why they know what they're talking about. That's why they know what they're doing. They didn't just grab this information and putting it out there. They walked it. So you're getting great experience from these two wonderful teachers. I bless God for them and their wonderful ministry. And this COVID need to get up because that cruise is calling us. I haven't forgotten. We going to that good piece.
Yes.
That good piece. We going into
Hey, Hoya. Hey, baby girl.
What's up, girlie? Yeah, Mo. But look, again, we owe you.
Love you, sweetie.
We owe you. You know, there's no money that we can pay. There's nothing. God knows. It just for us. It's just pray continuously for you and your family and all that you do because you guys have touched our lives. You guys have blessed us. It is because of you and your wife that me and my wife do what we do. And you and I kind of joke about this because it's almost like the last assignment that God had on the earth was my wife.
Wow.
For Yolanda, yeah.
And then
for real. Yeah, that's inside. You know, it really, 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 really was, man. And then so God did it. The thing I love most, while you can never ever pay me any type of material thing like that, just keep the testimony alive. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb, the word of our testimony. I just want you to keep on telling everybody, man. Just keep telling everybody, Apostle Thomas, that you know it was us that helped. So it gives me an opportunity to, you know, get my name out there. You know, let the people know, hey, just keep my name alive. I appreciate y'all so much.
Oh, absolutely. We certainly will. We got you.
Oh, man.
We got you.
You and Yogi, we're always going to honor our sis. My wife calls her my twin, but I want to call them twins.
Yeah. Hey, Tommy, what Yogi said about that forest?
Gonna build some more trees. I'm not in deep enough.
That was funny.
I'm not in deep enough.
Oh, listen, and the backdrop to that, guys, was, we're dealing with a story about hiding. And the question was, how would you, from a relationship perspective, what would you do if you felt like, dealing with someone or something of that nature? And literally what she said was, I would go in the forest and I would dig more trees.
Now that girl, my counselor, she was a comedian. Y'all think I'm a comedian? That woman right, and it would be so.
She was. Would y'all tell me?
Yeah.
I'm so glad you guys had the opportunity to experience her intimately. That was a funny something, wasn't she? Oh my God! If she ever,
I'll dig some more trees.
That is what I miss. We laughed and joked. Whoa, she used to have me in tears.
Yeah. She was something. She was always so. And again, the key was, and you had to know who she was to understand it. Because look at my wife's point. She was so slick with it that it would ride right past you and you wouldn't even realize.
You cut it down the street. Yeah. Yolanda cut you. You think about that's cold. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, again, we just thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. God is blessing. He's doing tremendous things with you guys. We're honored. We're blessed to know you. I talk about it all the time. He's world renowned. So the fact that I even know who this man is, I'm like, thank God. He's something now. Now you're preaching for Melvin Thompson, and I'm like, okay, so out of here now. He, Apostle Mel on a whole nother level. So when he call in, okay, Generate, I need you to do something. Oh, it's over.
I'm humbled. I'm honored, man. I thank God so much for my man of God. I just love Apostle Melvin Thompson III so much for every dual opportunity. I'm grateful. And then, again, I love the Evans. Same thing. Man, I'm grateful. I seen a couple of people tell me thank you tonight. Mrs. Evans, who was that? That's your mom, Tommy?
Yeah.
God bless you, Mrs. Evans and Jack Evans' stepdad.
Yeah.
God bless you, brother Jack. God bless you, Valerie Lilly. Cousin Danetta McCain out of New Jersey, bless you. Derek and Shakira, bless you guys. Love all of y'all.
Yeah.
Valerie, Mrs. Evans, Danetta McCain, Derek and Shakira. Is that it? I think that's about everybody. And Demoya. And Maya Moore. Oh, bless you, Maya. Bless you. Janine, I love you, girl. But bless you, Maya. God bless you guys.
And I think Adrian was on here too. Adrian James.
Gary Casey, God bless you. Gary Casey, bless you, sir. Apostle Casey. Now, that's an awesome man of God. God bless you. Thank you. You're welcome so much.
Yeah. The Apostle Casey, he called me all the time. You heard from Apostle Generate? I'm like, Apostle.
Y'all know y'all got inside access. Y'all can't tell everybody the type of access y'all have. Then everybody want access,
No, but we so appreciate you, man. We thank you so much.
And for those who are just joining in, catch the replay. You have to replay this.
You've got to. Let us say they miss you and Yolanda in New Jersey.
I love you. Yes, we miss you, cousin. I love you so much. In fact, Tommy, this is my cousin, Dr. Netta McCain, out of New Jersey, Cleanse Heart Ministries. Her daughter and her son-in-law just moved to Winter Park, Florida. God bless you, Cindy, Sorello Haley. God bless you guys. Bless you. So the name of their ministry is called Faith Forward Church, Winter Park, Florida. Faith Forward Church, Winter Park, Florida. And Tommy, I'm glad you mentioned things lift up in March, because in March I want to go to Florida, man. So I would love for you and Jessica to come and join and share.
No, let's do that. Is Danetta the one we met when we came down to New Jersey with you?
Yeah, exactly. You got it. You got it. You sure did, Danetta. Exactly. Y'all took me to Jersey. Exactly. Look at you. Yeah. So turned her daughter and her son-in-law over into my hand, son, really, because son-in-law. So we covered them. So they just moved to Florida January.
Okay. Winter Park, Florida. Florida's calling.
We're there. We're there.
She be trying to get to Florida forever.
I'm itching to relocate to Florida. Come on now.
Let's do it.
But yeah, so not to take up too much more of your time, you guys have a wonderful evening. And Apostle Generette, we love you, love you, love you.
Love you.
Appreciate you, bro.
All right, love y'all.
All right.
Hey, you guys, don't forget to tag and share.
Tag and share.